UFC 291 was absolutely bananas, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I already made a video about Michael Chiesa and Tony Ferguson, how they should retire after that fight. So, guys, stick around. I'm going to be breaking down Derrick Lewis and then the John Blachowicz Alex Pereira fight. So, do me a favor, subscribe, like, share. It's been a huge help, guys. MMA Casual to the moon, 50K on TikTok, and I'm working on getting monetized here on YouTube. So, let's get right to it. Derrick Lewis against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, which I wasn't too familiar with this guy. I did see his background with submissions. He is ranked in top 15. He looked like a freaking lima bean out there, a real trash can. Derrick Lewis came out, and I really, as I always say about Derrick Lewis, win or lose, he's gonna come out swinging. So there's always that chance, just like in any fight, but especially with Derrick Lewis, that his knockout power comes in and really puts a staple on the fight, right? It really nails a coffin on his opponent, and that's exactly what happened. I don't think that De Lima had any idea, obviously, that Derrick Lewis was going to come at him like a freight train, and he throws in a nice switch knee, and it lands flush. At first, it looked like De Lima blocked it, and it's almost like Derrick Lewis's momentum is what knocked down De Lima. But when you look at the replay from the front view, you see that Derrick Lewis's knee landed flush right on De Lima's face, and from there was the beginning of the end. De Lima had nothing to do. Derrick Lewis used his huge body, got on top of him, finished him off, just nasty ground and pound, and he ultimately got the victory. And it was really fun to watch. I love how much love that Derrick Lewis gets. He had a funny little post-fight speech, like always. He took off his shorts. Hey, my balls was hot, as you could see here, and he took off his gloves. That was his last fight of his contract with the UFC. And in my head now, I wonder what's next for Derrick Lewis. I really think that the UFC should sign him again, because if Derrick Lewis is willing to give 3 or 4 more fights, which in reality, that's probably what he's going to live. He's in his late 40s. I think it's a great idea if he doesn't sign with the UFC. If PFL picks him up, that's a huge draw. Everybody knows Derrick Lewis. No matter how you feel about him as a full mixed martial artist, how he is, he brings in people. He has knockout reels. He's fun to watch, and he's a fan favorite. So I think it'd be stupid for the UFC not to sign Derrick Lewis, and I think that's what's ultimately going to happen. But yeah, he got a performance of the night victory. It was fun to see him throw that crazy knee. He said he didn't have it planned. He was just like, hey, I'm going to throw it. It is what it is, and it worked out. So a lot of fun there. Moving on, John Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Coming into this fight, I said Alex Pereira round 2 TKO, but I said ultimately it depended on John Blachowicz's performance. I thought that was gonna be the key factor into what happens in this fight. It had nothing to do with how Alex Pereira showed up. It was ultimately how John Blachowicz showed up. So we've seen a champion in John Blachowicz, a complete fighter with great leg kicks, Polish power. He could grapple. We've seen no cardio issues in the past, really, at least for his light heavyweight body. And John Blachowicz went in straight to grapple initially in the fight, and he did a great job of controlling Alex Pereira for about 5 minutes in the first round. It was a clear, if you ask me, it could have even been a 10-8 round, because he dominated Alex Pereira on the ground. So for me, John Blachowicz wins round 1. We go into round 2, and believe it or not, he was the gassed one. He had that body triangle for the most of the first round. He had him down. Of course, that plays a huge toll on you as far as your stamina. But I thought Alex Pereira was going to be exhausted, because he was carrying John Blachowicz for half that round as a backpack, and that's really exhausting. So I was very worried about Alex and how John Blachowicz was going to play that second round, but Alex did a great job of not getting taken down in that second round. And he had John Blachowicz gassed. It was over. Alex Pereira saw a victory in sight, and he almost finished John Blachowicz, but he just didn't have enough time in that round. And up to that point in the fight, it was 1-1. So going into round 3, I said, hey, it's completely dependent on this round. It was a fresh round 1 to see what was going to happen. And then to our surprise, John Blachowicz, and let's see these round 3 stats just so I could break it down. So total strikes, John Blachowicz landed 33. Alex Pereira landed 46. It didn't even feel that way. Alex threw 85%. John Blachowicz threw 58. John had 1 takedown out of 3. Obviously, Alex Pereira had 0. Significant strikes, Alex Pereira had 35, and John Blachowicz had 26. So to be honest, watching the fight, I really didn't feel as as Alex won that third round, now looking at the stats, it gives me a little more to say, hey, Alex earned that victory. And I think it has to do with the fact that John got that late takedown and he had him down for like a minute and a half almost, or a minute. So it left me thinking, Alex Pereira finished his fight on his back. And it's one of the things that there's a little bit of a recency bias when you're watching a fight, how it ends, to scoring. But then Alex Pereira wins a split decision. I don't think it's a robbery. I don't think it's fair to say it's a robbery. I think that fight was extremely close. If John Blachowicz would have won, I would not have been surprised. And if Alex Pereira won, I wasn't surprised. So I think it was a great fight, and I think it just made more sense for Alex Pereira to win that fight. I'm not saying these fights are fixed, but definitely when there's close fights, I do think that the UFC is in bed with the judges. So just like Sean O'Malley beating Petr Yan, if you have a close enough fight, it's always going to go to the up-and-comer, the hype beast, the cash cow, just like Paddy Pimblett when he beat Jared Gordon. So I think it makes more sense for the UFC to have a guy like Alex Pereira win this fight rather than John Blachowicz. I think Alex Pereira opens up the division a little. I think he brings in a little more excitement. He's already been the middleweight champ, so to get his second belt, he has a lot of fan base, and I think Alex Pereira is doing everything he needed to do when they initially signed that contract for him to come into the UFC. So props to him. He looked good. He was able to withstand John's grappling in the first round. I thought for a second he was going to be done, but he did a great job, so you got to give it to Alex Pereira. I think he has a nice future. And as far as his grappling continues to improve, he's going to get a lot better. I think he has a good chance of becoming the light heavyweight champion. So let me know what you think. Be sure to subscribe, guys, and check out my Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje breakdown.